Welcome everyone to Choice Conversations, the podcast dedicated to helping you improve your life, one choice at a time. I'm your host, Chris Stefanik. Let's do this. Welcome everyone. You're listening to the final installment of the Dale Brown series. So if you didn't listen to part 1 and part 2, I recommend you go check them out. We talk a lot about his company, Threat Management Center in Detroit, which provides private security there and an alternative to the police, doing a better job of keeping neighborhoods safe than the police are, and they do it using nonviolent solutions. So that's really, really cool. Last episode, we talked about the nature of business. Is it necessary to be cutthroat when you're running a business? And, running throughout all 3 of these episodes, the topic of racism is interlaced. So Dale gives us his experiences with racism, what he's seen as a business owner, and the like. In this episode, we're starting off right with the advice he has on the recent police shootings of Alton Philando, Castile, what the police did wrong, how his company would approach that same situation, also what the victims, what Alton Sterling and Philando Castile did wrong, how he advises his clients to react to police when they're pulled over by the police. So some really good advice there. We spent a lot of time today talking about the media and how the media stirs up racial hatred and things of that nature. He talks about his experience with the police and how he's actually, as a black man, is treated better by white cops than black cops. That was kind of interesting and the like. And at the end, we have a little debate about the free markets and the nature of capitalism. So you'll have to stick around for that. Now, towards the end of this interview, the audio quality for Dale gets kind of sketchy. And I just want you to know that when it gets to that point, the interview is almost over. So just hang in there. Don't turn that dial. I promise it will be, you can still understand what he's saying. It's just the signal starts breaking up. So just stick with it, and I promise the interview won't be much longer till the end, and then you'll be able to hear the whole thing. So I'd appreciate it if you could stick around through that, and I apologize that the quality was how it was. It's how it is with Skype sometimes. Before we dive into the show, I did want to make one quick announcement. I've been eyeing the URL, the website, choiceconversations.com, for some time now. And someone had it, and it was frustrating. They had purchased choiceconversations.com, were holding it, but they weren't actually using it. So if you tried to go to choiceconversations.com, you didn't get anywhere. But if you tried to purchase it, like somebody like yours truly, you couldn't actually get it. And I'd considered in the past going with choiceconversations.net or .org or one of these other extensions. And everybody always says, the one you really want is the .com, so I just kept holding out. And I'm like, man, nobody's using it. They're holding it, but they're not using it. Maybe they'll just release it. And the subscription, whoever was holding it, that expired, I believe it was March, maybe May, something like that. And I was watching to see if they would renew, and they didn't. And it was released back into the wild, and I scooped it right up. So just this last week, that website became available, and I was ready to pounce and bought it. So now you no longer have to go to choiceconversations.libsyn.com to get to the show. You can just go straight to choiceconversations.com. So I'm real pleased about that. Always trying to make things a little bit better, Today is better than yesterday, and as long as you can say that on most days, then things are moving in the right direction. All right, let's get right into the interview. Now, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on these items that are in the news lately. Like, you've got the Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. I don't know how familiar you are with the details of those cases, and you've looked at the videos or anything.
Oh yeah.
But like, how would your people handle those situations differently? What did the police do wrong?
How do we teach people? First of all, let me explain this. The way I teach African Americans specifically, but all people, to handle police is, number one, when the police pull you over, you dive over quickly. That helps de-escalate them mentally. The second thing you do is put all the windows down, no matter what the time of year, windows down, all hands of all people outside the windows open with keys, registration, insurance, if you got it, out of the window, and you never ask questions of police. That's where people make mistakes. So all you do when the police pull you over is pull over, hands out, and by uplifting the police officers and putting them on a pedestal, what you're going to find 9 times out of 10 is the police officers automatically de-escalate themselves and step off the pedestal. And they're like, you know what? No, that's not necessary, man. Calm the hell down. Put your hands in cars, guys. Stop. And like, you're fine, guys. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to drive stop. Now, when your hands were in the car, it's about to be a freak out scenario. And the fact that you pulled over, a half mile down, it's on now. So you want to dive over. When I say, as soon as you see the lights, don't even know if it's you, pull the fuck over anyway, quickly as possible. I mean, damn near turn completely sideways to get over. Okay. That way they're like, damn, that was quick. And then a lot of times, I swear to you, know what they'll do? They'll just, because you're so fast and they were accelerating, they pull up next to you and they'll say, all right, so warning. You next time you put your tail light, fix your tail light, or get your tags changed or whatever. And that's just because they don't feel like reversing and going through all that. And it shows you capitulated so fast that they couldn't get amped up about the pullover, the traffic stop. You're just too compliant and just, they're not up for that. It's also conscious. Okay. Now, as far as law enforcement officers, it's totally insane to walk up on a carload full of people or 2 people or even 1 person when you're on foot. That's insanity. You have them get out and you have them approach and you decide if you want to run away, drive in reverse, drive past them, or if they pull out a gun, drive through them. What you do not do is approach a car and then discover it's a felony when what is the procedure for a felony stop? You have them get out of the vehicle. Think how stupid that is. If I know it's a felony stop, as a police officer, I tell you to get out of the car, everyone out, on their knees, whatever other crap. And you don't need to be telling people get on their knees and yelling and pointing guns at them. That's how you create mental trauma. When humans feel traumatized because a gun is pointed at them, they begin to have a subconscious response to fear and threat, creating a trigger of their parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, which automatically creates a fight or flight response, which you don't even know what you have because you don't usually have people pointing guns at your head. So you don't really know who you are. Are you a fighter or a flighter? You don't even know. When did one threaten your life with a gun to your head? How often does that happen? So your panic response is normal human behavior. The only people that don't do that are people that are shocked and in trauma, psychopaths, and people that have experienced this a lot. So they're able to stay calm. The average person could freak out at any moment. And begin to resist and start yelling and screaming at police and running and not understanding. Another thing their brain does under stress like that is it fights to self-preserve. So if it actually believes the police officer is going to shoot you anyway, which biomechanically is normally the answer anytime they're in fear, understand this. It takes 2,000 of a second to respond to stimulus, 1,000 of a second to initiate action. Essentially what that means is 2 things which are very disgusting. When a police officer tells you not to move, to show your hands, when a police officer tells those guys you see in the video, say, show me your hands. Now, if there was a gun in their hand and they intended to shoot the police officer, biomechanically, there is nothing in terms of reaction time that could make it so that police officer could shoot them first if there was a gun in their hand. Okay? So in other words, your guns are behind your back, your guns in your pocket. They say, put it on your hands. If there's a gun in your hand, you will shoot the cop every single time first. The way that you learn that is in an actual situation or in my training. Secondly, the police officer is either an underreactor or an overreactor. And that's subconscious either. Normally, the older officers are underreactors. Younger officers are overreactors. It has less to do with racism and more to do with human reality of biomechanics and biopsychology, right? So how the human thinks. The young humans want to become self-validate, meaning I went to training, I got a rifle, I got a gun, I want to use it. I'm a man now. I want to show I'm a man by being in a shootout. That's a very important principle for men. Men are only men because they went to war. Some transfer that self-validation through college or, getting married. But usually women do that through the, self-validation. Did you get married? You're not a real woman unless you have a baby, unless you got married. And so once we understand psychology dictates our behavior compulsively, subconsciously, we can stop saying, oh, well, he's not a racist cop, or, oh, wait till people find out that the media is hiding the fact that African-American cops are shooting African-American people at either probably the same or worse rate. We don't even know because they're acting like African-American cops aren't doing that, which I would think I'd be offended if I was a European-American person or European-American cop. Why don't you tell the truth? Where are the African-American cop shootings of African-Americans and European-Americans? Now, you won't see European-Americans being shot by African-American cops. It doesn't need to be discussed because it's not happening. And that's a very serious issue. Why are the African-American cops not shooting European-American unarmed people? You got exactly one case of the actual situation of them shooting an unarmed European American male who was biting people and attacking the police station at Alabama State University, which he was still naked, and it's still a cowardly move to shoot him when he's got no clothes on and he wants to come, attack you, fight you. Go fight him, man. If you don't want to fight, then don't be a person in protective service. And take him down. He's a naked college kid, 21 years old, 150 pounds, and African-American police officer shot him for rushing at him. That was not right, just because he's African-American. And then the only other case ever that I've ever found in my research for the past 20 years I've been researching this, the only other case of an African-American police officer shooting an unarmed European-American person, the only time a black cop shot an unarmed white person is just recently in Louisiana. And those cops are under the prison. They have not seen the light of day. No cops are defending them. There's no one talking about them on the news. They might even be dead for all I know. But they were pulling over a guy, and he took off, and they shot the kid in the car. Autism. He was an autistic kid, 6 years old. The police immediately condemned these two officers and said their behavior is completely unacceptable. They murdered the kid. They literally called it murder. There's no reason for them to shoot this kid. This is what the state trooper investigating it said. And immediately the two officers were incarcerated. And I don't think they've ever seen the light of day since.
And this was what were the races of the people involved in that one?
Those were two black cops that shot a white kid, kid in Louisiana. And so look that case up. That's the only other case other than the one at Alabama State University. Then what they did to confuse Rush Limbaugh and a bunch of media people, because people started asking that question, how come the black cops aren't shooting on our white people? And that's because they know better, because they know you better not do that. And that cop in Alabama State was fired immediately. He had to fight to get his job back. But he did get it back, because it was, that's a textbook scenario where you're being attacked by someone, whether they're naked or not. And you can't just say, well, not in today's modern times can you say, well, black cops have to let themselves be attacked. You used to be able to do that. You can't do that now. In fact, the first black cops in Atlanta weren't even allowed to carry guns or arrest white people under any conditions. So the first 20 black cops. So, that's just part of our heritage in African-American officers.
Yeah, the stories portrayed by the media right now are very much.
Yes.
It seems like they're motivated to take it in a certain direction. They're motivated to stir up racial tension, which is disgusting to me.
There is a real serious problem, but they're not pointing. They're not being fair and accurate. Meaning, the African-American officers are also killing African-American people, and you need to bring that up.
Right.
Stop making it look like only European-American cops are doing it. There's one guy here in Detroit, an African-American police officer. He shot 12 African-Americans by himself, one cop.
Right. But if you're an African-American and you're hearing this in the news, then you start to think, hey, the white police are out to get me. When you are pulled over, you then have that reaction.
Chris, let me tell you something, man. It's worse than you could ever imagine. As an African-American private investigator, I would always run into these redneck cops that look like Boss Hogg. I don't know if you know who that is, but anyway.
Sure. I do. Yep.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. So Boss Hogg comes up to my car. I'm a private investigator. Got my gun on me. I'm always a 45, something with high cap magazines and big bore. You know what I mean? And I'm always like, all right, I'm ready for the redneck sheriff, the redneck cop. And I'm like, got my permits and I'm ready to go. And all of a sudden they're like, how you doing, Mr. Brown? If you ever need any help, just give me a call. I'll help you out. I'm like, what the hell? You're supposed to be like a terrible redneck guy, right? And now here comes the African-American guy. I'm like, oh, look, we're around the same age. He's not much older than me, or, he's a little older than me, but he's, positive African-American guy, a cop. This is great. It's going to go fine. The humiliation begins immediately as the African-American cop begins to humiliate me in front of others. And it happened more than 3 or 4 times, man. You can't even imagine how weird that seems. Like, wait a minute. There's only one African-American cop. There's 8 European-American cops, right, they're socially sitting around somewhere. The African-American cop calls me out and begins to harass me in front of all the white cops. And the white cops are like trying to calm him down, like, leave him alone. Is that bizarre, man? Like, your brain, that doesn't make sense. But that's a reality, man, that a lot of people, that you're not seeing in the media, right? Like Freddie Gray, you did see there were African-American cops there, okay? So at least they didn't try to hide that.
And I mean, it's just really egregious if you're willing to look in the alternative media and do some investigation and not just listen to what's going on in the mainstream media. Like, I mean, and if you go back to, I mean, it really started ramping up with the Trayvon Martin stuff and the Zimmerman and all of that, and where they were really like portraying, like they were altering like the 911 calls and stuff to make it look like he was racist and, calling him white instead of Hispanic and that sort of thing, because Hispanic shooting a,
it's not.
Killing a black.
No, that's in law enforcement, you're only 2 things. I mean, they can say male Hispanic sometimes, but generally white.
We're not talking about law enforcement though. We're talking about the news. That's not a headline if a Hispanic person kills a black person.
Right.
It's a headline if a white person kills a black person, just like it's not a headline if a black person kills a black person.
Well, let me explain it to you a different way. Bikers, like the Aryan Brotherhood, allow people like him in it, okay? So they don't allow blacks in it, okay, African Americans, but they will allow him in there. So that's why they consider them white males, because they basically, unless they, have an extreme, Latino kind of projection, I don't know. It's really weird. That's one of those weird things. Like, how about a lot of African Americans look white, especially in my family. I got some that look so white, they think they're white. Right. They think they're European. I mean, I had a little cousin who said, man, if I was black one time at a family reunion, he said, wow, I'd really feel weird if I was black. His mom smacked him in the head. Hey, boy, what's wrong with you? It's just that he looks, there's nothing about him that looks African-American. And it just, in our society, though, when they find out you're African-American, you are. So, you are treated differently by European-Americans. And we have to be honest about that. That's a real issue, real subject.
But yeah, I mean, the media, to me,
yeah.
Do they want there to be more racial hatred? Do they want there to be more violence? Do they want things to escalate? Because it really seems like they want things to escalate.
They don't see it that way. That's like the majority of people in prison are the same thing as the majority of people are poor, are white people. European Americans are the single moms. European Americans are the mass killers. European Americans are the ones on death row the most. I mean, European Americans kill more cops, but you never hear that in the news. So you got people in the media, you got people on Facebook, they're all like, well, blacks are poor because of this. There's more poor white people. Stop it.
Well, you also have to think there's more white people in America in general. So
right.
You don't
care about how many roaches are in your house. You don't want a bunch of roaches. I mean, so the percentage of brown roaches versus black roaches is not important. They're roaches. So what we're doing is we're trying to say, yeah, but look at the numbers. Okay, if black people are going to jail for stealing candy bars, they got a guy that got 30 years for stealing candy bars. Habitual offender. He won't stop stealing these candy bars from 7-Eleven. Meanwhile, you got a white guy that killed 4 people drunk driving. He didn't get a day in jail. They just had to pull him out of Mexico. You have these disparities in justice. And even with all of that, like where I'm from, when European American kids steal cars, it's called joyriding. Okay. If you're in a car that's stolen and did not know it's stolen here in Detroit, you just got your first felony grand theft auto and you had no idea it was stolen. You thought it was your friend's mom's car or something. Mm. So in Detroit, they expect the kids to actually search the glove box to find out if you're authorized to drive this car. Otherwise, you go to jail for felony grand theft auto.
Wow.
Everyone in the car. Could be 6 kids in the car. Everyone gets grand theft auto, not just the driver. If there's one gun in there, they charge everyone in the car with possession of a gun.
Well, I mean, all these scenarios that you're bringing up, these instances that you're bringing up, I mean, they point out that there are real problems with the government being the one that handles security and law enforcement.
Oh, well, let me help you. Private sector security, which I've worked for my whole life, they would hire me. I would be the supervisor, and they had one rule: do not hire any blacks. Excuse me? Can't hire any black guys, man. Just clients don't want any black guys. Oh, okay, but you're fine. You talk like Brian Gumble. We like you, but yeah, no other black guys. What? So, I mean, this is a common occurrence, man, that the private sector, I would come into a company, I have the most credentials, and I would be a supervisor, but I'd be like the one without any kind of benefits. I would be the lowest of the low, and I have the highest credentials of anyone in there because I paid money and I went to classes, and I was an airborne paratrooper, but on top of that, I went through extra training for shotgun, pistol certifications, and all kinds of stuff. They didn't care.
Right.
It didn't matter. I had more experience. I had more knowledge, more experience, more companies. They didn't care.
So, I mean, right now, if you're in the private sector and you're not providing a solution to the problem, then you're not going to get clients and you're going to end up going out of business. I mean, that's kind of the difference. So, I mean, maybe whether you're doing that.
Not true, sir. I got a company right now. They're called, I'm not going to say their name, but they're complete losers. They're not even licensed to do security work at all. Okay. They have no license for that. And, they technically would be what you call my competition. They don't do what we do. They do like 1/10 of what we do. And they don't have uniforms. They don't have equipment. They don't have training. They don't have any skill set. They have no capability. And most importantly, they have no success. Now, not only were they given a $100,000 check from the city of Detroit for community service, which they do not do.
So that's not free market, though. If they're getting checks from the government, that's not a free market solution. In the free market, you have to provide solutions for people, or eventually you're going to go out of business.
Chris, that was an extra check. That's not their main check. Their main check is from homeowner associations that they duped into hiring them, and and they created a clause with their alarm system that makes so no one else can use their alarm system, right? So if you fire them, right, you lose your home alarm system. And they didn't say this when they first started, but you have to get a whole new alarm system. And then if they get sick, they won't answer the phone because they're sick, and they don't respond 24 hours a day. They respond like 8, and they don't know what 8 hours they are because they're not going to tell you. And then when they respond, they don't do anything except call the police.
So in the free market, something like this, where to me, that's basically, whether it's legal or not, that sounds kind of like a scam. It's a very poor practice.
No, what it is the white people won't sign up with me, Chris. The white people will not sign up with my company.
Just hear me out.
Yeah.
But what happens is when somebody is doing a poor job like that, I mean, the word will get out, and other people are going to be less likely to sign up with them. And then there's going to be an opening where other people can move in, other competitors can come in and solve the problem better.
No, Chris, that's not how it works. I'm saying that's how it should work, Chris. You're absolutely right. The way it should work. That's the way I'm from this place where black and white people kind of like each other, and it's kind of like a cool thing to be cool, like Star Trek. Okay, that's where I'm from. That's not the real world. Okay, here, whether they're the gay European American guys or the straight ones, doesn't matter. They automatically are not signing up with me. Okay, let's be clear. They're not going to do it. Now, the only reason I have my communities right now is I hired a European American male who was approximately 50 years old. They couldn't believe that somebody like that would be working for an African American, so they were sure that this must be a white company, a European American company. And so that's how I got all these deals. By the time they found I was African American, it was too late, and I'd already exceeded excellence, and they still tried to hire someone else, but they couldn't find anyone that could do what we do. So what I did was I exceeded the contract capabilities. And the only way you would ever be able to take my contract is you would have to take a loss financially. Okay. And no one's going to do that. Okay. And then you can't do what I do but you couldn't even cover the hours I cover without taking a loss. The only reason I can do that is because I make money off of other things. I have cigarette companies that I stopped the hijackings of, and they were in a situation where they were forced to deal with me, in that there was no company that was capable of doing what we do in terms of managing violence. And the police had failed so much that they lost all the respect for police. So they had to find an alternative. And we were the only willing, capable, able-bodied organization that could get on those cigarette trucks starting in 1998 and stop these hijackings. Multi-million-dollar losses per month in some cases. And they haven't lost $1 since 1998, and other companies since 2006. And one's a $100 million company, and one is a $300 million company now. When I met them, when I started in 1998, they were a $250 million company. And we've defeated all their threats without any violence, without any court dates, without any issues. So my men ride those trucks as bodyguards even today, right now, and we have no issues. So it's a system of education that separates us from law enforcement and security. We're a school first, so it's constant training, constant inculcation and learning that separates us. On top of that, it's performance. So not only learning, but you got to outperform other people for your position, or you're going to lose it. So your money is not based on your age. You don't age into more money. You have to perform to get more money. A performance-based system is it's very hard, it's very arduous, and that's why nobody's going to do it. But that's the key. So imagine a football team that gets paid the same amount of money whether you win or not. It'll be the worst football team ever. Imagine if you got more money for being an old football player than being a capable football player. It'd be the worst team ever. So what you got to have are people that are highly functional, highly knowledgeable, and highly skilled at all times, exceeding expectations, creating a performance-based environment, not based on race or religion, but based on actual performance that everyone can see and everyone has the ability to challenge. So in other words, I can't just say, oh, he's better than you. You will see their reports. You can see their video of them answering questions. You can see their performance of their gun disarms, their knife disarms, their takedowns. Do they know these techniques, these tactics? You can see their performance reviews or their field reviews to see, did they file their reports properly? Did they follow procedure right during this criminal situation? Did they approach this right? Did they record this right? Did they interact with police correctly and the criminals correctly? And so all these things are used to determine position. So you never have that nepotism and cronyism problem you have in law enforcement, military, and private security especially. Private security is the worst. So you got to, in order to understand, just go look at private security, go talk to them, ask them intelligent questions. Go to any security firm, ask intelligent questions. What you're going to find is no one grows up to be a security. Okay. No one grows up to be a security. Let me be clear. If you don't have any valuables, you should not be guarding anyone's valuables, nor should anyone expect you to. You can't go to someone who doesn't have valuables and say, hey, listen, I like the fact you're broke and you don't have any valuables, but I would like you to, protect mine. Now, that just doesn't make sense. That is an elitist class system that's just insane. You're going to have a broke-ass person watching out for your stuff while they get broker by the day. So you think they don't want to be wealthy? They won't have kids in college. They don't have boats and cars. Everyone wants to have a better life. And it's very disrespectful to think security guards are these low minions that are not supposed to have a better quality of life. And if they are, they're not going to perform. And you don't want those kinds of people in a high performance condition. By the way, protecting humans from the apex predator on the planet is a very difficult thing to do. So you're going to have highly knowledgeable, skilled people in order to do that. And that's where we're messing up. We have the lowest performers in the highest performance conditions. Not even the cop's fault. Think of it this way. It's the highest performance condition on earth. It's harder than racing a car. It's harder than being a basketball or football player. It's harder than being a tennis player, right? It's harder than all those things. It's harder than being a surgeon, what you're asking them to do. So when they don't do it right, you have to realize they're not supposed to be able to do it right. They're the lowest performers in the highest performance conditions. Listen, the military is made up of guys. You know what the military is? It's not George Clooney and a bunch of really smart guys. Most of the military are the kids from high school that were antisocials, not very smart, and now they got guns. Okay, they're the bad kids and the dumb kids, most of them, and I was right there with them. That's how I knew I was not going to be able to do this very long. Because I cannot be with the dumb kids without I'll be another dumb kid. If I sit around the military, my life will be over. It's that you have to, surround yourself with the kinds of people that you want to be like. And getting back to the original point about security, no one grows up to be one. So how can you expect this to be a positive outcome if you're using people that are something by default, not by design? So we need to be honest and find, like, for me, the best kinds of people are family-oriented professionals. I pay them well, pay is based on performance, and they have to be mature people that are not trying to validate themselves off of the suffering of others. And that's just hard to find. You have to find people that genuinely are like an activist and a social worker and an actual social person that loves people. So bartenders are good, salesmen are good, because what are you selling? You are selling peace when you are in public safety. So a good communicator, a person that's even someone that's like a counselor at a church, or counselor at a drug rehab clinic would be a great person for public safety. They're calm, and they're able to identify and communicate with people and mirror them and placate them and keep them from getting angry because of adversarial possessioning. So a lot of it comes down to psychology, not physicality. And so, that being said, there's a lot more to public safety. It's better to have no public safety than to have someone you're paying come as a protector and kill you by accident.
Right. Well,
okay.
We're out of time. So I wanted to give you a chance to just tell people if they want to find out more, where they should go. I did want to real quickly say your earlier arguments about how some people would not hire you because you're black. I think just because there are some potential customers that are bigoted doesn't change the way that changed my earlier statements about the free market, and that inevitably in the free market, you find businesses that solve problems where in the government, there's no competition. So there's no driver for somebody who's better at solving problems than someone else to succeed and push out the ones that are not as good. I don't think that bigoted customers out there changes that equation, really.
I do understand your point, Chris, but I need you to understand something, man. That's your theory, and I'm living it, okay? So what I'm telling you is what's really happening for 20 years, all right? So we're not talking about, I'm not a startup. So what I'm telling you is what happened when a guy who said I was the best company in the world, I have 20 white males working at his establishment, and these guys are making good money, and he says I'm the best company in the world. He would have paid double. I want to meet you. And then I go to meet him, and we're fired the next day because he didn't know I was African American. And all these white guys lost their jobs, man. Imagine I have to look at them, man. They can't feed their families now. That's fucked up. And what I learned was if I would have not gone down there, then those guys still would have had their money. And so I did start listening and learning, and I just would stop showing my face, and the white people would hire. Okay. I'm not, when I do community service work, man, that's community service. It's about helping people. Okay. Now, when I talk about job to earn the money to do this stuff, there's no pride. Okay. I got to swallow pride. I don't care if they don't hire me. I don't care if they need to see a white person up front. I'll put a white person up front. We'll get the contract, and I'll be able to help people. Okay. I'm just letting you know that's what's real. Now, I'm smarter than my situation. I won't say you have to do it my way or the highway, because I'll be broke. What I said is I will get you the white person you need to see in front. He'll act like he's me, and then you can, pay him. Okay. And it's fine. It's not nice, but that's not business, man. Business is not about you. It's about the consumer. The consumer is comfortable when they see a white person. You know who loves to see white people in business? Black people. African Americans love to see a European American business. And they'll hire an European owner, a European American, before they'll hire an African American. That's a holdover from slavery. That we learn to love our slave masters more than ourselves. And so we don't trust the other slaves and our progeny, so in our offspring. So the reality is you have a very serious set of circumstances that are driving these different racial issues, and most of them are subconscious. African Americans don't realize that the reason that they want to hire a European American is not because of holdover from racism and inculcation over, a couple of generations. It's because that's subconscious. They actually don't even know that. They're like, oh, I don't know. I just really like this, the white guy better. Even if it's a substandard product in a substandard company. And that's just a 20-year lesson for me, maybe a little longer, because I learned as a private investigator as well. And so it's not about excellence. It's not about capability, all the things that I, extol. What happens is, though, what I do is I make it so mathematically you can't compete with me. So not because, you like the excellence of the service, is because no one can compete with what I'm offering, which is it seems like the same, but it's not. In other words, I'm crippled by the reality that they would take less if they could get a different kind of company in that they feel more comfortable with because the owner is European American. Now what I've done, though, through Facebook and some other things I've created and through the media, I've been able to create a bridge, and a lot of people know us. So now my product adds value. So now I'm not experiencing it that as much. But still, with the new people moving to Detroit, they don't know me or the organization, they are extremely resistant to sign an American company that's been here the longest, me, and they're signing up with this company that is completely ineffective. And I was thinking like you, like, okay, well, people see the truth and they'll drop them, and they can't, and they're not dropping them. You're talking about now they've been there for like 5 years, and it's insane. Like, there's no way it should be there.
Are new people signing up though?
Yes, yeah, they live in Community, the one where the judge got shot. It was on CNN right across the street from us. And they just got them. I didn't even know them. Just saw them yesterday. So they got another place when they're already screwing up the other ones they have. The reason for that is because the cousin of the owner is the local city of Detroit. And so they've got some kind of, connectivity. And their guys that they use for security are almost all from the country. So guys they bring in Detroit. So it's not like guys from Detroit are getting jobs or something. And I don't discriminate. So it could be, I don't care where you live, but as long as you perform. But, we do have African Americans from the inner city working for us. Absolutely. But they almost, I think they have like 1 out of 30 guys or something from the city of Detroit. And again, all that aside, the bottom line is they're not effective. You're not winning. They were on CNN as their community was on CNN as an upscale community under siege by criminals. And it was in high rotation on CNN, embarrassing our city, and still they didn't get fired. I just can't believe it.
Hey, I just wanted to interject right here. This is me after the fact, after the interview's over, recording this and just inserting it in. I had some more I wanted to say about this debate, and I didn't do it in the middle of the interview because, first of all, our time was up. We had actually ran way over, and it just needed to end. And also, as you can tell, Dale's audio was breaking up pretty badly, so I thought it was best to just close up the interview and move on. But I did want to give my arguments that didn't come across completely. So an example, like when I was saying that just because there are bigots in the world doesn't mean that the free market forces aren't still at play. So what do I mean by that? Because Dale gave this counter argument that no. The best products and services don't always get you the customers in the real world. That's your theory, Chris, but that isn't how it always works in the real world. Well, let me explain this. What is the best products and services? Well, only the consumers can tell you what the best products and services are. And even Dale referenced that. He said, it's all about the consumer. But the way a consumer evaluates whether something is the quote unquote the best, there's a lot of variables that go into that. So let me give you an example of, like, say, a pizza delivery company. One variable, of course, is do you like the taste of the pizza? Maybe the presentation of the pizza is important to you. Maybe you have some special options that you like to have available to you, like maybe you want a gluten-free pizza or something like that. And so that's something that factors into who has the best pizza. Of course, price is always a factor. If there's the best tasting pizza might cost you $100 for a pie, but there's one that's almost as good that's $15, and you're like, you know what, this is the best pizza right here. To me, that the price does not justify the 6 times more expensive cost for a pizza that's only marginally better in flavor. This is the best pizza, the $15 one, even though it doesn't taste the best. Then there's things like speed of delivery, the courteousness of the drivers, the courteousness of the woman that answers the phone when you call in, or maybe you don't like having to call in and you like to make your order through a website, and does this particular pizza business have an order form on their website? And that makes a big factor in your decision of, is this the best or not? Now, for some people, the race of the business owner could be a factor in whether or not this company provides the best pizza for them. So some people, it could be the race of the delivery person could be a factor. These are all variables, and they have to factor that in. There are two kinds of businesses in the world. There are businesses that are owned by black people, and there are businesses that are not. There's essentially three kinds of consumers out there. There are consumers who don't care what the race of the owner of the business is. There are those who place a higher value on a business that is owned by somebody who's not black. And there are those who place their higher value on businesses that are owned by people who are black. So let's walk through this scenario here. If you're looking at the group that just doesn't care what the race of the business owner is, then they're going to look at the broad swath of businesses providing whatever product or service it is that they're wanting, and whatever one meets the rest of the variables that they're factoring in, price, quality of service, whatever it may be, the tastiness of the pizza, they're going to use those variables to determine what is the best company for them. For the people that have a strong preference for companies that are owned by somebody who's not black, they are going to look at the companies that are out there, and they're going to weigh the variables, and the ones that have a black owner, like Threat Management Center, are going to get downgraded. They're not going to be weighed as high in their ranking scale for them to figure out what's the best company for me to go with. And likewise, the people that are bigoted towards blacks, that say, I really want a company that's black, that really matters to me. Businesses that are owned by blacks are going to get a higher score regardless of the other variables. So all the variables are going to come together, but to just dismiss the people's preference and say, well, market forces don't actually exist because there are bigots out there, it's not true. The market forces still exist. It's just bigotry affects the demand for products and services. It adds more variables to the demand for products and services. Now, is that a great thing that bigotry is a factor in the demand for products and services? I would argue no, it's not. I would say bigotry is an ugly thing. If you want to go into the realm of morality, I would say it could be classified as something that is evil. And it would be great if there weren't bigots out there, but that's not the reality we live in. But regardless, it doesn't change the fact that there are market forces out there. It's just another variable in the equation. And, capitalism's not perfect, but do you have a better alternative? I certainly don't see one. Is there another solution out there that's more conducive to building wealth and increasing human happiness than free markets? I don't know of any. As far as I can tell, nothing else is even close. It's interesting to note that there's racism out there. It's even disturbing on some levels, but it doesn't negate the arguments for free markets. And I will just add this to it as well. The fact that there's all these different variables that people look at when they're determining what is the best product, what is the best company for them to give their money to. The fact that it's different from person to person to person. We all have a slightly different way we grade these companies. The fact that each person is different, and you can't tell somebody else what's the best product for them. Only they can tell you what's the best product for them. I think in general it's a good thing. Bigotry is not a good thing, but in general this is a good thing. What it means is that if you're an entrepreneur, there are a lot of options out there for potential clients, because there's all kinds of niches. You could say, you know what, there's already A, B, C, X, Y, and Z providers of this service out there, but I can do it better for a certain subset of the consumers out there by really focusing in on this one variable, by really pinning down my niche, where these other service providers maybe aren't scratching that itch for these people. They're not providing it, they're not focusing in on this one particular thing. So in the example of the pizza, maybe in your town, nobody has gluten-free pizzas. And you could be somebody that could step into that void and fill that. Maybe in other areas, you don't have the best product. Maybe it doesn't taste the best. Maybe it's not the cheapest, etc. but you have some options, and that the options that you have that other stores aren't having opens up a potential client base towards you. As somebody who is really into entrepreneurship, I love that there is no way to objectively say for all people, this service is the best. It's really a subjective thing. Each person has their own variables that they look at. I love it because what it means is there's always demand out there for something. You just have to find what products, what services people are wanting that they're not getting, or they're not getting in the way that they want to get them. Maybe they're getting pizza, but they're not getting the pizza fast enough or cheap enough or whatever it may be. So I hope that makes sense. But in general, bigotry equals bad. The fact that demand varies from person to person in a lot of ways, I think, is a good thing now. All right, let's get back to the interview and close it out. All right, so if the listeners would like to hear more from you, or if there was some people out there who would be interested in your services, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
The best way to reach us is going to our website is www.threatmanagementcenter.com. That's threatmanagementcenter.com. Our phone number is 800-525-3491. That's 800-525-3491. And again, it's threatmanagementcenter@threatmanagementcenter.com.
All right, and I'll be sure to put that in the show notes as well, so the listeners can just click on that if they would like. So, all right, well, you've been very generous with your time, and I really appreciate it. It's been very
that was good.
intriguing.
We kept down to 1 hour. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I figured if you had to be somewhere, you would have gotten off the call by now. So
no, this show is more important to me than some other stuff I got to do. I'll have to wait. That'll have to wait because it's imperative. Call me guys to get the word out here, and hopefully we can make change through education. Man, all about edification and being honest and truthful about information, so we can evolve and do better. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so let's just say what it is, and let's focus on performance and doing better, man. Just evolving, all about positivity.
I hear you.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Well, take care of yourself.
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right. That was the conclusion of the Dale Brown interview. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to that and all three parts. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, do me a huge favor. Go over to iTunes. Please leave a rating for the show and leave a review. This will help Choice Conversations to show up higher in the searches when people go to iTunes and are looking for shows to listen to, so it'll help to spread the word. I would really, really appreciate that. If you go to choiceconversations.com, right at the top banner, there's a little iTunes button that you can click on right at the top of the page. Or if you're listening to this on your phone, if you scroll down towards the bottom of this episode, I've got the link in the show notes as well. So you're just a simple click away from getting in there and leaving a rating and review for your friendly podcast host. Also, if you could share this with your friends, social media is awesome for that. Tweet it out, share it on Facebook, share Choice Conversations every way you can. I would really appreciate that. So, super good stuff. Also, you can now just go right to the show notes, be it on your phone or on choiceconversations.com. And there are buttons right there for you to click to tweet the show out, to share it on Facebook, and several other platforms. All right, people. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening in. And remember, make the choice to be great.